Hey guys, Bird Yu-Gi-Oh here. So today I wanted to do a deck profile for the new structure deck that just came out for Sacred Beast. It's a really cool deck. It's by no means going to do anything in the meta at all. It's just a really fun deck. And honestly, if there's one thing I can suggest to any of you guys who happen to be like budget players or new to Yu-Gi-Oh is to buy 3 of every structure deck that comes out. This one is probably actually the least, I guess, powerful right out of the box as some of the other past structure decks, but it still does have some really good staples like Pot of Desires. I mean, this card has been reprinted now like 4 or 5 times, so you should have some copies of this, but they're included in here. But there's just some really cool cards in this deck, and also this deck is really fun. And pretty decent if you can get your board going, and it's honestly very easy. It's just like a 2-card combo to get a very good board. So yeah, without further ado, let's get right into this one. Oh, and just so you guys know, I do have an ABC deck coming up, so that will be coming up, and then also I have a Code Talker deck coming up as well. So stay tuned for those. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss them. And we'll get right into this one. Starting off with our big Sacred Beast boss monsters. My favorite one is Raviel, Lord of the Phantasms. 2 of him. Basically, the way you summon these is off of other cards' effects. You can't normal summon him, but you can special summon him by attributing 3 Fiend monsters. I honestly never do that. You're going to get his effect off by other ways. I'll show you those cards. But once he's on the field, each time your opponent normal summons a monster, you'll special summon a token, a Phantasm token with 1,000 attack, 1,000 defense. Really nice. And then once per turn, you can tribute 1 monster, and this card gains attack equal to the tributed monster's original attack. So you could potentially get him up pretty high, and he's actually most of the time going to be your main way of OTKing because of even another monster card that we play in this deck. But he's really good. Him and Hammon or Hamon, Lord of Striking Thunder. These are by far the 2 best Sacred Beasts. Hammon has some really cool ones, so he has to be special summoned by sending 3 face-up continuous spells you control to the graveyard to get him onto the field. But again, you're going to be using other monsters' effects to get them onto the field, ignoring their summoning conditions. But if he destroys an opponent's monster by battle and sends it to the graveyard, you can inflict 1,000 damage to your opponent. And then when he's in defense position, which is usually how you'll want to have him, your opponent cannot target monsters for attacks except him. And then if you have your field spell, then they're not going to be able to, get around these 2 cards very easily. And then we do still play 1 Uriah, Lord of Searing Flames. He's really not that good at all. You have to special summon him by sending 3 face-up traps you control. And then he has 0 attack, 0 defense, whereas these 2 guys have 4,000 attack, 4,000 defense. He'll gain 1,000 attack for each continuous trap in your graveyard. And then once per turn, you can target a set spell and trap your opponent controls and destroy that target. And then neither player can activate spell and traps in response to him. So he's really just okay. But you definitely do still want to play all 3 of them, because if you can have all 3 of them on the board with your really good continuous trap, you have a really good lock on board, and I'll show you that when we get to it. But yeah, I like this lineup, 2-2-1. I think it's perfect. And then we also play the brand new card that just came out, Shimmering Scraper, Raviel. Basically, I've really never summoned him either, but you can special summon him by attributing 3 monsters. But you're mostly going to be using him as kind of a battle hand trap, basically, because you can discard this card and target 1 Raviel and double its attack. And then if this card's in your graveyard, you can tribute 1 monster and then add it back to your hand. So Really, really cool. Obviously, for OTKs, you're going to be able to get your Reviel just with those two cards up to 8,000. And then if you use Reviel's effect, you could potentially gain another 4,000. So very easy to OTK with this card. It's very searchable. You definitely only need one. But yeah, that's kind of our Sacred Beast monster lineup. And then by far the best normal summon and the card you always want to see in every single opening hand is Dark Beckoning Beast. Absolutely amazing. When it's normal summoned, you can add any of your Sacred Beasts or any card that lists the Sacred Beast names on it. So that's basically searching your entire deck, whatever card you need. And not only that, he'll also gain you an additional normal summon of a Fiend monster with 0 attack and 0 defense, in addition to your normal summon. Extremely, extremely good, and a lot of times you're hoping that other additional normal summon is going to be Chaos Summoning Beast. And again, you can search this off of your Dark Beckoning. But then when you normal summon this, you can tribute this and special summon one of your Sacred Beasts from your hand, ignoring its summoning condition. So that's one of your ways of getting them onto the field. Super, super easy. And then you can banish this card from your graveyard and add your field spell to your hand, Fallen Paradise, which is absolutely amazing too. So 2 really good effects. And then we also, the last kind of one is the Dark Summoning Beast. He's a level 5. So if you gain an additional normal, you'll have to tribute, your Dark Beckoning. But you have ways around it of special summoning him as well. Basically, you'll tribute him, and then you'll be able to special summon one of your Sacred Beasts from your deck. You won't be able to declare an attack. That's the only thing with him. But then you can also banish him from your graveyard and add one of your Sacred Beasts to your hand. So all of these cards work so well together. Absolutely amazing. I would strongly suggest, I don't have it in this build because this is more of a budget kind of version of this, but Called by the Grave is probably a really good card you can play because you really, really rely on this normal summon to go through. You don't want him getting Veilered or, whatever, and you definitely want that additional normal summon. That's really important too. But yeah, all those cards, super, super good, and you always want to see, him and him, a combination of these guys, if you can. 1 is always nice. So one way of doing that is with dangers. They're going to gain you normally just some good draw power. So we played 2 Chupacabra, came out in the structure deck. It's a level 4, why not? 2 Mothman, again a level 4, so we can go into some cool Xyz. And then Dogman. Basically, if any of these are special summoned by their effect, you'll be able to draw a card, so that's your draw power. And then if you discard Chupacabra, you'll special summon a danger in your graveyard. If you discard Mothman, each player draws a card and discards a card. And then Dogman will reduce the attack of all of your opponent's monsters by 1,000. So that's good for OTKs. But yeah, they're mostly in here again to just kind of get draw power, thin out your deck, to be able to get to these guys easier. So that's it for the monsters. And then on to the spells. The best one by far is Opening of the Spirit Gates. It is so, so good. You always want this in hand, so sometimes you'll even search this off of your Dark Beckoning Beast because it does list the Sacred Beast names on it, so you can search it with even this Dark Beckoning Beast. That's why that card is just absolutely amazing. But when this is activated, you'll be able to then search, again, just like our Dark Beckoning, any card that lists the Sacred Beast on them, or you can add any of the Sacred Beasts to your hand. So again, searches pretty much your entire deck, all of your important cards. But then also, once per turn, you can discard a card and special summon a Fiend with 0 attack and 0 defense from your graveyard. And then if you control a level 10 monster, you'll be able to add a continuous spell from your graveyard to your hand. So all the effects on this come up all the time. So good. And the next best field or spell is Fallen Paradise. It's your field spell. Your opponent, once you get your Sacred Beast on the board, will not be able to target them with card effects, and they cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects. So that makes those cards just super, super hard to get rid of. And then if you control one of your Sacred Beasts, you can just draw 2 cards. So this card is so good. You will always get something out of it. It's so, so good. And then we play 2 Cerulean Skyfire. This is your way of summoning Hammond, but normally, because to summon Hammond, you can use face down spells you control to summon it out. But normally what you're using this for is if you have a Hammond on board and have this face up, when your opponent activates a spell and trap, you can change Hammond to defense position and then negate that spell and trap. So this is basically your main form of disruption with your kind of main deck cards. So really good. I like it. I like it at 2. I definitely don't want it at 3. And then you definitely need some draw power. And the best one by far for this deck, all the monsters are dark, is Allure of Darkness. Or sorry, not all the monsters are dark. Hammond and Uriah are the only ones that aren't, but every other card in here is dark. So this is definitely one of the cards that you'll want to add to the deck. I think I want to say it's the most expensive one, yeah, in the main deck that you'll want to add, but it's definitely super, super important. And then 2 Pot of Desires. You could always do 3 Pot of Desires, 2 Allure if you want. I prefer this ratio, 3, 2. Really, really good. And then we play 1 Dimension Fusion Destruction. This is your way of getting to your 2 fusions. You're going to banish from your hand, field, or graveyard the fusion materials, basically, that are listed on these guys. So your Sacred Beasts, basically, you can fuse them into these guys. So that's your way of doing that. And then 1 for 1 is the last spell we play. That's just, again, another easy way of getting to your Chaos Summoning Beast to then be able to summon one of your Sacred Beasts from your hand. And then for our traps, play 3 Awakening. Now this has so many good effects. Basically, you're going to be, if you have 1+ Sacred Beast on the board, so if you just have 1, each time your opponent normal or special summons a monster, you gain life points equal to the attack of that monster. So you're going to be able to gain a lot of life points potentially. If you have 2, which normally that setup is going to be Raviel and Hammond, you're going to be negating the activated effects of monsters your opponent controls. So skill drain, basically. And then if you have 3, which is still definitely possible, any monsters your opponent sent to your opponent's graveyard are banished instead. Really nice. And then once per turn, if you control a level 10 monster, which you will obviously most of the time, you'll be able to add a continuous trap from your graveyard to your hand. So kind of recycle some stuff. But yeah, normally you're going to be having 2 monsters on board. That's kind of your 2-card combo that you'll do. You'll be able to have both of these pretty easily on the board. And then if you can search him somehow, which is again very easily with opening of the Spirit Gates or your Dark Beckoning Beast, this card just shuts off your opponent. And then again, if you have that field spell, they're not going to be able to do anything to your monsters, and you'll be able to just kill them next turn. And then the last ones we play, 2 Hyperblaze. This allows you to special summon Uriah using face down traps. And then you can, the main reason you're playing it is you can discard a card while this is on the field, and either add to your hand or special summon one of your Sacred Beasts from your graveyard, ignoring its summoning conditions. So this could potentially be very, very good, and I definitely like it. Again, you're not going to be using it usually to summon the Uriah, but that second effect is so good on it. So that is the main deck. I believe we're 41, so just over the 40. I really like the ratios I have in this. I've been testing it a lot, and it's worked out very well. And then for the extra deck, you saw them already. The two fusions, Armalite and then Phantasm Emperor. They're both good in their own rights. Depends on what you want to do with them. Pretty cool cards. And then the main card that you definitely need in your extra deck of anything is Almiraj. Now this makes your combo super easy because it gets, usually your Dark Beckoning Beast from the field to the graveyard. And I can show you the combo real quick at the end, but that just makes it super easy to go through with your plays. And then one Linkuriboh to get your Chaos Summoning Beast off the board into the grave. And then just some generic kind of cards that work with the deck. Barricade Borg is going to protect your field spell, or just face-up spells you control in general. It'll allow you to discard a card, so you could potentially get some danger effects off. Underclock Taker, just to help even more with your OTKs. And then generic removal with Phoenix, Cerberus, Unicorn. You'll be able to generate some tokens, so these become pretty easy to make if you need them, turn 2. And then Borreload, again, you'll have ways of going into your Link monsters and then easily going to him, use your tokens to go into like your Nightmare cards and then use them then to go into Borreload. So it's possible. It doesn't happen very much because your boss monsters are just super good. So usually you don't need to go into Borreload. And then the last cards that we play are just some rank 4s because of the Mothman and Chupacabra. You can go into these fairly easily. Dugaris, Evil Swarm Nightmare, Baguska, and Exciton are just kind of some cards that I thought you might want to make if you have 2 level 4s on board. So, and I think I even left another spot open, but extra deck is not too terribly important other than this Almiraj. But yeah, let me show you that combo you can do pretty quick. We'll just start with the most ideal. Dark Beckoning and then Opening. So you can normal summon Dark Beckoning and then add, normally it's going to be like a Chaos Summoning, and then you'll activate, so this is in your hand, activate Opening and search out whichever one of your Sacred Beasts you want to normal summon. Search out that. And then you're going to him because you'll gain that additional normal. And then you can get rid of the Dark Beckoning for the Almiraj. And then you can tribute this to then summon out the Raviel. And then you'll have protection right there to protect him from being destroyed by card effects. But then you also banish this to add your really good field spell. And you'll activate that to protect Raviel. So then if you add one more card to this combo, so we'll say you have Dark Beckoning, Opening. Actually, we'll just say you open up just one of your either Raviel or Hammond, either one. And so you will normal summon your Dark Beckoning. And again, here we'll go for the Chaos. And then with the Opening, then you can add your Dark Summoning Beast. And then from here, you'll kind of do the same thing, normal summon, and then you can add, or sorry, then you'll tribute to summon out your Hammond. You can do it in attack, whatever you want. And then you'll get rid of this for Almiraj. You can use opening effect to discard and then summon it right back. Then use his effect to tribute to then summon out, oops, where is he? Raviel. So you have these two on the board with your Spirit Gates. You'll then banish your Chaos, again for the Fallen Paradise. And then this gets even nuttier if you happen to have that card or your Cerulean Skyfire. Because if you have this, then when your opponent activates a spell and trap, change it to defense, and you'll be negating that. And then if you have this activated while you have two of these, you'll negate all activated effects of monsters that your opponent controls. So super, super good. Again, those are just a couple of combos that you can do very easily with this deck. That's why I would suggest Called by the Grave might be a good option, just to really make sure that you get your Dark Beckoning Beast, all of his effects off. He's probably the most important one. But yeah, that's the deck, guys, and we'll catch you on the next one.